I had a longtime co-founder business partner that worked with me that was very organized and super operational. But, we were, I think over my career, we've been early on a lot of things, and it's been really, really valuable. And a lot of that just comes from constantly thinking and paying attention to what's going on in the market, looking for opportunities. And when we see something, not being afraid to jump in.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. And as always, I have an incredible gentleman with us today. And I know I always say that, but it's because it's always true. And I'm very excited to introduce this gentleman to you. But before I do that, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, and likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. And I want to ask you for a favor. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some type of information, some value, some insight, a skill, a mindset shift, or the inspiration to go out and take action to move forward towards your goals, I want to ask you to please share this episode with 10 friends. It might sound like a lot to ask for, but share it on social media, share it on your story, share it with 10 friends, since this is how we grow. This is how we're able to share our message and motivate, inspire, and bless more gentlemen out there to change their lives. And today I have Mac Lackey. That's yeah, cool.
Correct.
Mac Lackey. He's an American entrepreneur who started and scaled 6 companies, all 7 or 8 figure exits. And Mac and his companies have been featured on CNN, the Wall Street Journal, Fast Company, Business North Carolina, USA Today, and the New York Times. Has been on a bunch of podcasts. He helps people scale and exit companies as well. And most importantly, he's a husband, father, entrepreneur, and he's what I call a modern gentleman. So, Mac, thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate it, and you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate it.
So, Mac, the first thing that I do with my guests, man, is I ask them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
All right. 75 seconds or less. So my life was all about soccer growing up. That was kind of my passion. I was fortunate to check a lot of the boxes. I played in college. I was a collegiate All-American. I played 1 year professionally and immediately realized that was not going to provide the life that I wanted for myself. I was very fortunate to join an early stage company, a startup that was in the educational space. And literally on the first day of working in this company, which I was not qualified for in any way, it was a startup that was just looking to fill a position, I realized that I needed to be my own boss. And so very quickly after joining that company, I think it took about 6 months, I convinced an engineer that worked in the company to leave with me and start our first company. So in the first quarter of 1995, which was shortly after Netscape launched the commercial web browser, I launched my first internet company. And over the past 25 years, as you mentioned in the intro, that first company I ended up selling, and then I sold 5 more companies. I had multiple 8-figure exits in my 20s, very blessed to be an entrepreneur. And so now I'm looking sort of back over this crazy journey of, 25, 27 years as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing, man. Sold several companies in your 20s. See, like, this is so limited belief shattering. Like Mac, I'm not the same person that I was 7 months ago, man. And it's been because, well, I've talked to over 130 people, like maybe not like you, right? But over 130 people, that are playing on high level. And I'm not the same person that I was 7 months ago. And it's been because of this, right? Like right now, you're telling me you exited multiple, like businesses in your 20s. And now I'm like, damn, like what does he have that I don't? Right.
Absolutely nothing.
Right. So man, what made you realize that like you had to be your own boss?
So the very first day in this company, I was hired in the marketing department, and I was going to learn marketing for this startup. And the president of this small company walked in. I'd probably been there 2 hours. And he said, I want everybody to go to the conference room, and we're going to brainstorm strategies. We're going to talk about growth. We're going to talk about the vision of this company. And so I was super excited, and I grabbed my little, notebook and pencil. And right as I stood up, he put his hand up and said, no, Mac, actually, you stay here and answer the phones. We're heading to the conference room. And the feeling, even though it was naive and probably unfounded, that as this, just out of college, person with no experience, I felt like I had something to contribute. In my mind, I had ideas, I had energy, I wanted to help, and realizing that I would not be able to do that unless I was calling the shots really hit me. It hit me deeply. And I knew from that minute, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know I have to do it myself. I have to bet on myself. I have to start my own things, because other people are not going to give me those opportunities. And so I knew it literally the first day.
Damn. Yeah. So what do you think this guy was like I don't know, like, what do you think he was an asshole? Like, what do you think he did it? Just
No, I think it, candidly, it was a very reasonable thing, right? I mean, he had other people in the company that were much more experienced, had been in the company for a while, and he needed someone to answer the phone and, keep the business going while they're in there talking. And so it wasn't really unfair. It was just such an obvious, kind of proverbial punch in the face that, okay, you're a kid, you don't have experience, you can't help, so you need to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And although it was perfectly fair, I didn't accept
personally.
it. Yeah, I didn't accept it. I took it personally, and I thought, I have something to contribute, and I want to prove it. And so I spent a lot of my early years, I would say, with a reasonably healthy chip on my shoulder, that I wanted to prove that I was capable of that. And I was willing, and I still am, my whole career, I would always say, I'm willing to suffer the consequences, but I want the benefit. If I do something, if I prove something, I want to benefit from that. I want my family to benefit from that. I don't want to be doing all this work that someone else is going to benefit from. So I really decided pretty early that I was going to take those kind of risks.
Yeah, that was a great thing that happened there, right? So now, now I bet you feel grateful about it. At the time, it must have felt terrible, but now, like, it was like the catalyst that, that drove you. And it's so, like, interesting, like, the more and more that I talk, the more and more that I find out that one thing that people feel, like, one of the major fears is not being good enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
And one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs want to prove is that they are, right? And, like, that's what they are driven by. So all right, so can you like walk me through, like, the journey? So you got that chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And you convinced like the engineer from that firm to, like, go with you. So you did that, and then, like, what was the first internet company that you built?
So yes, sign of the times, obviously, 1995 was so incredibly early. The internet companies. Yeah, the internet was, I mean, people didn't really know what it was. They didn't believe it was anything more than a fad. I spent the first probably year of my working life in, conference rooms trying to explain the internet. And we had this incredible conviction that the internet and that technology was going to change the way people did business and interacted. But people literally thought we were just naive kids. I mean, they were like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They're too young. But because we were so early, we were learning really quickly. And so within, a year or two, we went from a startup, with in a 1-bedroom apartment to having, Fortune 500 clients, working with, really impressive organizations, because we went from, inexperienced kids to internet experts very quickly, because we went in deep, we committed, we were very early. And so by the time other people were realizing this whole internet thing was real, we were already way down the road, very experienced. So that company, I started in 1995. By 1998, we were getting life-changing offers to buy the company, because we had this very impressive client list. We had a lot of expertise, some amazing engineers. So we sold the company in 1998 to a group that subsequently went public, and, it changed my life in many ways. I mean, all of the, goals and dreams and things I'd thought about financially, I sort of achieved right then and there. I mean, I went out and bought the car I wanted and the house I wanted, and, all the things that, and I was also married in 1996. So my wife, married me when I was a struggling startup guy that had no money. So I knew that she loved me for me, not for any money, because I didn't have any. But I was able to, effectively retire her right then and there. She never worked again outside of the home. And so we achieved a lot of our goals and dreams early in life. And it really proved to me what's possible with the entrepreneurial journey. So I learned that lesson, thankfully, a good one, very, very early.
That was amazing, man. And then you basically achieved all your goals, and then you were like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that 5 more times.
Yeah. So over the kind of rest of my career, my very first company set such a standard. It was hard, when I talk about it, looking backwards, it was an amazing experience, right? Because it had a great result. But the reality for some of those first couple of years, I was newly married. I was working very long hours. My wife would sometimes call me and tell me I needed to come home because the night before I slept on the floor in the office with my business partner. I mean, we were really working hard. So it's not like we just showed up and someone handed us, tens of millions of dollars. It was a lot of work. We were paying our team a lot more than ourselves. My co-founder and I were really trying to take almost no money out of the business just so we could grow it. But it was such a good result. It was so reinforcing that I thought, this is something I want to do again. I felt confident. So I started my next business, which was really at the intersection of that first company, which was technology, and my passion, which was soccer. So I started a kind of a soccer related tech company. And, less than 2 years later, I sold it to a public company in Europe, for another 8 figures. I mean, just an amazing set of experiences. And most of my life was pursuing things that I was passionate about, projects I really wanted to work on. I didn't create companies to sell. I created companies that I thought needed to exist or I wanted to create. But because we built, decent companies that people valued, we ended up having the opportunity to sell them. And so looking backwards, it's easy to say, hey, I started, scaled up and exited 6 companies, but each one of those I had a passion for. I would have run for 20 years if I had to, or I wanted to. I just ended up having an opportunity to sell it. So
that's amazing, man. It's so refreshing to hear this because, I started my, so my business is, like podcasting. We help, coaches, course creators, authors, and speakers build a multi-million-dollar network building podcast. And I started this like 3 months ago, and I'm on track for my company, to build this business to 7 figures by the end of the year.
It's amazing.
And it's like almost delusional, right? Like you I wouldn't believe it if you told me, right? Like, and right now you're telling me that you started and sold a company in 2 years. I'm like, then it's probably not delusional. And I know exactly how I'm going to get to 7 figures. Like, I just need like 60 clients, on my recurring revenue contract for like 6, 12, 18 months. And that's it. And now I know exactly how I'm going to get there. And if you have a goal that you know exactly how you're going to get, then it's too small, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm probably shooting for 8 figures now in less than a year. which sounds like delusional. Like it sounds like, well, like what? Like if you tell your parents that,
Yeah.
like they would be like, is what you're doing illegal? Like, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I started this company, like you said, out of passion, right? Because I thought like, for me, out of self-love, right? Like the podcast was for me. Now, like it would be like a disservice to not share with people. So then it can be done. So then in the next 2 years, I could probably have an exit and then dedicate my life to something else that I love.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's so refreshing to hear that, man. Thank you very much. Like I yeah, that's really valuable for me. Like just hearing you say that, it's really valuable. And
Well, the other thing I would say, which because I think this is relevant for you, it's probably relevant for many of your listeners and followers, is that where a lot of people get kind of off track, in my opinion, is they're so focused on the financial component of their business, knowing your numbers, which you just talked about, knowing exactly how to get there is important and impressive. But what's interesting is when you're building a business that you might one day sell, the best exits always happen based on strategic value that you've created, not what your revenue or your EBITDA or your profits are. And what I mean by that is you may have a business that's doing 7 figures in revenue, it's profitable, you're getting a great living out of it, which is awesome. But if you have created a process that's incredibly valuable for your clients, if you've created a business model that's incredibly scalable and a brand that resonates with people, ultimately, when someone buys your company, that's what they're buying. They don't care if you're doing 2 million or 6 million. They realize they need what you've built. They need your process. They need your brand. And that's when people are willing to pay a premium well beyond your financials. So a lot of what I do in my day-to-day life now is working with founders, helping them build their companies so that they have created so much strategic value that someone comes in and wants to pay them a tremendous amount of money because they're the only place on earth that value can be achieved, right? If you're the only person that has all those things that you've built, maybe you have a competitor that's generating more revenue, but they don't have your brand or your process or your listeners or, all those things that you're doing so powerfully and uniquely.
I love that, man. Strategic value. And
Exactly.
I'm so excited right now because that's what I'm building. And I believe that. So right now that I'm telling you that you're telling me this, like I didn't know, right? Like I'm just like learning about this right now. But as you're telling me, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. And the key, I think, is building from a place of love, because like my service, like I've gone out and like shopping around and it's almost like lame to say this, but I believe we're the best, man. Like,
Yeah.
like no, like I'm building it for me, and we have like we find your ideal podcast guest, right? Like first of all, we align building your podcast with who you're trying to be, who what you want to do, your goals, your purpose, and we align that with building your your podcast. And then we find your ideal podcast guest based on your goals and the opportunities you need to get there. We close the interviews with them for you. We build a content machine, which is basically like all the post-production stuff. And then we're building like a lead generation machine by leveraging that, which is called the cloud client acquisition. And then I'm building a Rolodex, which is a thing like on Trello that like we have an automation that every time one books a podcast, like it goes to the an automation on Trello, which it organizes by like industry experts. And like if you need I don't know, like an author of a certain thing, like it goes to that little column.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing, right? So that would be my strategic value, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. There are people that have services like yours potentially that would be competitors. But when someone says, I really need this incredible machine where it all is organized, it makes sense, it's got lead gen and content and everything that they need, you become the only option. You become the obvious choice. And when big companies look out and say, hey, we need to be in the podcasting business, they're going to look at all your competitors and say, okay, they have okay businesses, but they don't have that machine that Alex has built. And that's ultimately the strategic value that someone's willing to pay a premium for, and what allows you to differentiate your business day to day anyway, win more clients, charge more money, have better margins, all those kind of things.
So, and then that process, and I'm so grateful. So my father, hey, sorry for the interruption. Real quick, do you want to know how I've been using my podcast to build a multi-million-dollar network with over 100, 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, reach hundreds of my ideal clients with my message, coaching, service, and podcast, get invited to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months alone, through my own events, and have over 100 successful entrepreneurs being willing to speak at my events, become a millionaire in 1 year, get mentored by multimillionaires, and achieve goals that I thought were going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year, and ultimately get unstuck and make quantum leaps of progress in my business and life with less than 1 hour of work just by being myself. If you answered yes to any of those, I just want to invite you to a free training showing you how I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar network that is helping me achieve bigger income goals faster with only 1 hour of speaking and just being myself. To be honest, I thought I was going to be a multi-millionaire, speak on stages, throw my own events, and live a successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and impact in 10 years from now. That seemed so far away, but my podcast has been able to help me do that in less than 6 months. I'm actually doing all of that this year at the age of 21 with my podcast. I'm reaching thousands of people with my message, my service, my podcast, my coaching. I've gotten booked to speak on 4 stages in the last 2 months. And on these stages, I'm going to be getting in front of hundreds of my ideal clients, making roughly around 15 to 30K plus per event. Not only that, I have a network of over 100 high-level, multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs who have all agreed to speak at my event. Getting clients is a problem of the past. I've gotten the opportunities to learn from billionaires, and I'm collapsing decades of time, and I'm literally achieving what I thought was going to take me 10 years to achieve in 1 year. All of this because I use podcasting as a networking tool, and I leveraged a rare concept called the cloak track. And I want the exact same thing for you. Just imagine where you could be in 1 year from now if you get this free training right now. That is why I'm inviting you to this training. On this short training, you're going to learn how a small group of purpose-driven entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, course creators, and speakers have combined podcasting with this rare concept called the cloak track to build a multi-million-dollar network, reach thousands of their ideal clients with their message, books, courses, coaching, make an extra $118,800, get booked on 10 stages, and build a successful network of entrepreneurs who speak on their stage. All of this in under 6 months. I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps to make this work. Step number 1, alignment. Getting clear on who you want to be, what you want to do, your goals, your purpose, and aligning all of this with building your podcast and your ideal podcast guest. Step number 2, leveraging the cloak track to find your ideal podcast guest and never running out of them. Step number 3, leveraging the cloak track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4, the content machine. The content machine is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. And I'm going to show you all of those 4 steps. The link to access this free training is in the description of this video. Click on it and go watch this training right now so that you can learn how you can too build a multi-million-dollar network that helps you achieve bigger goals faster and with less effort. Note, this training is only available to 18 people, so act right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. A bunch of years ago, he told me, if you want to have control and delegate, you need to be organized and systematized. That's what he told me.
Yeah.
And in Spanish, it sounds better. Like it's like a rhyme, right? And and that's what I've been doing. Like with everything that I learn, with everything that I do, I just draw out the process, and then I can delegate it. And then I do have that process. So I don't have how you normally hear that entrepreneurs are like visionaries, and then others are like integrators. And if you're one, you need to partner with the other one, right? Well, I'm both. I feel like I'm both, right? Which is pretty cool. But Mac, and I don't know. I feel like I'm making this about me, but I don't know. I guess this is like a cool, I don't know, maybe not a testimonial, but like case study. And I want one thing that I need that I feel you would help me break, which is I believe a limiting belief, which is this, right? So I feel like I want to be like the CEO and not do anything other than be the visionary and put process in place and lead, basically just lead. And right now I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm fearful. I think I'm afraid or something. But
Yeah.
what I want is like build a digital marketing team to start like running ads and start like like, and then I'm going to productize my service and make it into a course. So that's how we're gonna get to 8 figures. And then build a marketing team and then build a sales team. But for some reason, I'm holding myself back because I for some reason I feel like I'm the one who's supposed to be doing the sales, which is like stupid, right? Because like if you wanna do an event with 5,000 people on it or 30,000 people, like I want to someday in entrepreneurship events, well, I'm not gonna be the one who sells all 30,000 tickets, right? So like I'm gonna need like a sales team and all of that. But I don't know why I'm holding myself back, man. Like I could literally go out tomorrow and find the marketing team and then post on Facebook that I need some salespeople and build what I need to get to where I want. But for some reason, I'm not doing it.
I think one of the most common kind of roadblocks for entrepreneurs, and it's not really coming from a place of ego as much as, you know your business better than anyone. You know how to market it, sell it, talk about it, deliver it, operationalize it. So it becomes very challenging to imagine anyone coming in and doing those components as well as you, right? I mean, who can come in and market better than you? You created it, you know it better than anyone. But that is also the single thing that will prevent you from ever scaling, is if you are in the middle of all of those processes. And so it's super common and it's uncomfortable when you outsource those things to an employee or to a contractor. But ultimately, you're trying to take the special sauce that is you and is your business and train other people to deliver it at scale. It's a salesperson, and then it is 3 salespeople, and they all have to be able to, be true to your mission and values and communicate in a way that feels authentic for you. But that's your ability to scale, because otherwise, if you're in the middle of all those things, it will never scale. You will be the roadblock. You will be the reason it doesn't scale. So it's a normal thing for so many entrepreneurs to go through that period of discomfort watching someone else do sales calls when you're thinking I could close that and they're not saying it the way I would. But you train them, you work with them, and 3 weeks later, they're going to be as good as you, and that's all they're going to do. They're just going to focus on sales and get better and better and better and better. But it's a normal thing, and it's uncomfortable, which is why a lot of people stop right there and they never scale. But I would encourage you to do it.
Man, there's literally nothing holding me back, and I have no problem delegating. Like I have a team of like 12, I believe, and I have copywriters, graphic designers, video editors, social media, podcast marketing managers, and podcast builders. And like there's a person for something that they do, right? Then it makes sense to get a person or multiple people to market, and then get other people to sell, right? And that's the only thing that they're going to focus on, while I focus on leading, which I believe I'm good at for some reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's fear. But yeah. So like so that holds entrepreneurs back. Like they don't delegate, right? I was a solopreneur a couple of months ago, man, and you're right. Like for some reason, I thought that I should be doing everything. But can you tell me about your experience? So like on that second company that you started and sold in 2 years. So that like what was your mindset? So you came in, you had an idea, and you were like, all right, I need this people, and you just got the people and like focused on leading, or how was the process?
Yeah, no, I think I probably am a little more, stereotypical of the, strategy, vision. I was never an amazing operator, or I'm not as organized. I had a longtime co-founder business partner that worked with me that was very organized and super operational. But, we were, I think over my career, we've been early on a lot of things, and it's been really, really valuable. And a lot of that just comes from constantly thinking and paying attention to what's going on in the market, looking for opportunities. And when we see something, not being afraid to jump in, take risk, right? And so that second company was very early in kind of the internet media space around, we focused on soccer, but it was kind of a sports platform. And very quickly after we launched, we started building up this team, and other large media companies around the world recognized that the way people were consuming media was changing from old school kind of TV and broadcast to, internet and very quickly mobile. And we had all of those things. And so all of a sudden media companies were saying, we need internet, we need mobile, and we were the place they got it. So back to that strategic value thing, we were not generating a tremendous amount of revenue yet because we were just getting going, but we had so much strategic value that a large, public media company in Europe paid us to take over our internet platform and our mobile platform so they could offer it to their customers. And so I think a lot of what you have to do as an entrepreneur is you have to be early and you have to show the market where you're going and why you're likely to get there. The great news is for us as entrepreneurs, you don't ever have to completely achieve all those things, because if you look like you're on your way to 7 figures and then 8 figures, and you have this amazing platform, this growing network, nobody wants to wait until you're at $40 million before they offer to buy your company, because it's too expensive by that point. Mm-hmm. They just need to see that incredible progression.
Damn, so like it's all right now. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, once it's proven, the market just has to believe you're going to get there and you have the special sauce, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you can buy the special sauce and take it to your company. So that's I think a very repeatable process. I've done it my whole life. I've made plenty of mistakes too, but that's sort of philosophy.
That's crazy, man. And it sounds so easy, right? And I think that it's because it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the execution, right? There's always, you have to be good at what you do. You have to hire talented people. You have to manage them and lead them, and all those things have to be true. But under the assumption that you're a good leader and you hire good people and your idea is a good one, the very high level philosophical stuff is not hard. It really isn't. It's a very repeatable process and a repeatable way to build companies and look at creating value.
Man, I believe like this is like the matrix of business. Like, you get an idea, you validate it, you make sure that the market wants it. And then all you do, and then you test it to see if it works, to see if you get some like proof, right?
Yep.
And then all you got to do is like build a team to deliver, build a team to like market, build a team to sell, and then just build a team and like build a machine and get going. That's literally right. But like entrepreneurs spend years, trying to do everything themselves.
No, I'm super passionate about helping young, and doesn't mean young in age, but emerging entrepreneurs at any age. But I tell you, I did get to the point a number of years ago, I was getting very frustrated. People would ask to meet me for coffee or whatever and pick my brain and talk to me. And I could just see, meeting after meeting, we're discussing what needs to happen. And I know they're talented. I know they're smart. I know they're driven. But I increasingly would think to myself as I'm finishing my coffee, like, I also know they're not going to do it. Like, they're not going to take the step. They're not going to jump. They're not going to leap. And like, that's a frustrating thing when I'm like, you're very capable, go do it, but I can't make people do it. So I would just get to the point. I just want to help people, give them advice, and hope that they take the risk, because without,
I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to do it right now.
I know you will.
So
you're already doing it.
In fact, let me ask for some advice. So would you advise for me to build like a marketing team or go and hire a marketing agency?
Yeah. So I always think I always try to reverse engineer businesses. I look out and say, okay, what are my goals and dreams? What are the things I want to achieve? And let's say you want to build a content business, or you want to build a technology business, whatever it looks like to you in 2 or 3 years as the perfect, you've achieved everything you've wanted. And then I just start kind of backing up and saying, what are the critical things that have to happen for me to get there? And sometimes it is, I have to build something. Sometimes it is, I have to have an internal team that is world-class at that. And then in other cases, it might be, I just need to get a bunch of leads to get to my 60 clients. I don't have to build a team. I just need to find those leads. I can acquire them. I can hire an agency. I can run ads against them. But it always comes down to, what are those critical success factors? Because those things, and there should only be 3 or 4 of them, are the ones you have to focus on. All the other details are pale in comparison to those 3 or 4 big critical success factors.
I think I need to build a team then, because this is how it looks, right? Getting to 7 figures, which is very simple to do. Then productizing my service instead of, I'm not gonna be able to serve the whole world, right? But with my service, but I will be able to serve a lot of people with a course so that they can do it. Productize my service, get to 8 figures, and then add a software. For some reason, I just like want to add a software. I don't know, maybe to prove myself that I'm good enough. Add a software, and then have a 9-figure exit in like 3 years, or maybe not wait so long and do it right now, and and find someone who wants to give me, I don't know, a couple $1 million maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll have to sit down and think about it and decide.
That's right.
But yeah, it's been really fun, man. To like, talk here. All of my podcasts have been really fun because I just get to be me, and it's really cool. So, Mac, you have a mastermind, right? Called Exit DNA.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. So when I sold my last company back in 2018, one of the things that would have characterized my career from start until that date, which was again 25 years, is there were only two things in the world to me. One was whatever company I was running, and the other was my family. So anything else, events, speaking, masterminds, I just didn't have time, and I just said no, I didn't do it. I mean, I focused on my family and my company. So I got asked to speak at this event just after selling my company, and it was at a mastermind. And I honestly didn't even know what a mastermind was. I was so head in the sand building my companies, I wasn't paying attention. But long story short, I got asked to speak at this event, and they asked me to speak about my journey as an entrepreneur with a particular focus on, I had sold 6 companies. What is it that I had done? Right. So, because this was a group of entrepreneurs. And as I walked off stage, I didn't think I was a very good speaker or anything. I just kind of told stories and shared actionable advice, stuff I had learned, good and bad. And when I walked off the stage, several entrepreneurs kind of ran up to me and were like, "We need your help.
Let me pay you money."
Yeah. And so they just said, we're not hearing this from our advisors. We're not hearing this from our attorneys. We're not hearing this from investment bankers. So I agreed at that point to help this group of entrepreneurs in a small kind of group coaching setting, just helping them think about exits and prepare. And that ended up becoming what is now Exit DNA, which is a program where I work with founders and help them create the option to exit in the future. And it's structured as a mastermind primarily because I work directly with founders, coaching, teaching live, doing live sessions. But I also wanted the dynamic of all of these entrepreneurs on the journey. So I have currently about 60 amazing entrepreneurs from around the world that are in Exit DNA. And I didn't want it to be just Mac coaching them or Mac working with them. I wanted them to share ideas and connect with each other, because
build a
some are
mastermind.
some are 8-figure businesses, some are 7, some are 9, some are dealing with e-commerce, some are dealing, so there's so much value in connecting the people that I turned it into a little bit of a mastermind structure. So yeah, that's kind of what I've putting most of my energy into now.
I love that. Yeah. I'm part of 2 masterminds. And so yeah, I definitely know the value of being part of one, right? Like, you come in it and then you're like seeing all of these people see all of this amazing stuff at the same time as seeing all of these amazing people have all of these like little problems that you're having as well. And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, all right. I can do that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's very, 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 very valuable. So yeah, it's exciting. And, there's 2 things that you said, right, that I find really interesting, which is, in all those years of you building and scaling and exiting companies, there's 2 things that remain the same: you building companies and your family.
Yeah.
Right. Which I really resonate with because, that's like the same 2 things that remain constant in my life as well. And I know that you talk about something called life wealth.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's crazy. After all these years, I can even feel it. I get like emotional even thinking about it. The very short version. So I sold that second company in July of 2000, and the timing was really important because my first daughter was to be born any day then, right? So she ended up being born in August of 2000. And right at that time, I was already thinking about my next company, and several people said to me, Mac, hey, because I wanted to be a great dad. I just wanted to be the kind of dad that was like home for dinner every night, coaching the soccer team, going to the class, watching the plays in the middle of the day. I didn't want to be one of those absent dads. And so I was so excited about that. And people kept saying, that's awesome. You can, you're fortunate. You can be a good dad, but you'll not be able to be an entrepreneur like you were before, because that's so much time and you're traveling, and you'll never be able to do both. You just have to decide. So I made a decision right then and there that I was not going to accept that trade-off that everybody was telling me I had to choose, like either be a good family guy or be a scale entrepreneur. You can't do both. I mean, literally everyone around me was telling me, to make a choice. And of course, you can't choose to not be a good father or husband, in my opinion. But I wasn't willing to give up on the entrepreneurial piece. And so I didn't even know how I was going to do it, but I just made that decision. I was not going to accept the trade-off. So again, this is August 2000. In August 2019, September 2019, 19 years later, I dropped that little girl off for her freshman year in college in New York. And I could look at her in the eye and say, I didn't miss anything. I was there for dinner. I carved the pumpkins, all those things. And it was worth every bit of it. And my companies had to adjust to that. Right. So yeah, I get emotional thinking about it.
Me too, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And like you're saying, the trade-off that everyone was telling you that, that you couldn't have, like either right. You have one or you have the other, which is, BS. Belief systems of other people, right? That's BS exactly right. Belief systems of other people that either you can choose, for to make them a reality for you or not, because people, the good opinion of other people, goop, what I call goop, right? It's a smelly, sticky substance, right? It gets stuck on you.
Yeah.
Good opinion of other people, like that's just like a projection of where they are, right? If it hasn't been possible for them, it doesn't mean that it's not possible for you.
Well, and I think you're a great example. Right before we hit record, you were telling me a little bit about your story and your focus, and the same thing could be said for being healthy, fit, and an entrepreneur. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, well, sacrifice your health for 5 years while you're building your company, and then you can get healthy, or then you can afford to travel, or then you can be a good husband or father. And it's all bullshit. That's your decision right now. You choose to be healthy, mentally strong, working hard, a good husband, a good father. Like those are all choices. And you're exactly right. What the world does to entrepreneurs is sad, as they project, because it is hard to be an entrepreneur. I never said it was easy, but you decide. I would literally get up in meetings at 4:45 in the afternoon. And the first couple of times I did it, everybody would look at me like I lost my mind. They're like, what's he doing? And I would be like, I'm going home for dinner. It's 5 o'clock. My daughter, I told her I'd be home for dinner. But what happens is after the third or fourth or fifth time, it becomes an expectation. Okay, Mac's going to leave. He may come back later to work. Doesn't mean he's not working. He may choose to work when his daughter goes to bed. But the other miraculous thing that happens is then people start to realize, Mac's not going to be in every meeting. We better prepare, because what if he's not here and we have to run the meeting? What if Mac decides to go to his daughter's play and not be in the brainstorm session? So the talent rises to the occasion. Your company actually gets better when you have boundaries and expectations that, hey, I'm a dad that goes home for dinner. I'm a dad that goes to my daughter's soccer games, even if it's in the middle of the week. That doesn't matter to me. I'll make it up over the weekend, probably. But I learned very quickly that the more of that I stood true with, the more my companies got better. They didn't suffer as a result of that. They got better. So
I love that, man. And then the more you share those core values with your people, right? So like I have team members who work too hard, right? And I tell them, like, man, I prefer for you to like work out instead of working 2 extra hours, on what we got going on. Instead, like go and do your workout. Like, go take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you'll eventually get burned out, and then you're not gonna be able to work hard. So go and meditate, go and work out, go and spend some time with your family, and I share these expectations that I have for myself, that they know that I would never not work out because I have work to do with them, and
Exactly.
I'm building them to have that mindset as well.
Exactly.
And it turns out that they want to work even harder.
Yeah.
Right.
It's you nailed it. It's BS. I mean, like the world kind of pushes that stuff out and it's just not true. And I lived a, 19-year and counting experiment, which, I was building companies. We picked up the family and moved abroad. And, I traveled, I pulled my kids out of school and traveled for 6 months. I didn't put my whole life on hold. I was still running my companies and traveling, so like that is a expectation that other people put on you, not an actual constraint.
Yeah, man. I have 5 questions that I want to ask you, but before I do, I just have another comment. At the beginning of in June of next year, I'm gonna nail all my goals, and then in June of next year, and I'm gonna design my life so that I just have to work 4 days per week, Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
And I'm gonna go live a year in Bali, a year in where is it? In Greece, and a year in Colombia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like Bali is really close to a bunch of places that we want to go, and then Colombia is really close to a bunch of places that we want to go, and then Greece is really close to a bunch of places that we're gonna go, and then and that sounds crazy, right? Like if I told my mom that, I haven't told her, she would be like, yeah, it sounds crazy, right? And then me thinking that it sounds crazy is just because that's what I've been, taught to believe.
Yeah.
But like it's possible, man. Like I don't know. Like I just
very possible. Yeah. No, I think I approach everything in life like that. It is just a question of goals and dreams and reverse engineering how you're gonna get there. Just what are the steps I need to take? What would have to happen if I wanted to move to Greece for a year? What would have to change between now and me leaving so my company was ready? What would I need to do differently from Greece? I mean, like it's just process. It's just reverse engineering. And then you wake up and you're like, I'm on a Greek island and my company's running great, so.
And it's just a way of thinking. Sometimes what you believe is truer than what's actually true. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's right.
I realized that, which is like, I wish like how I feel. You probably feel it as well. You probably have the awareness to like feel what I'm feeling and to like understand this. I wish everyone listening would internalize this, man. Right? Yeah. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I really feel like you have to shout from the rooftops. I mean, you're doing it. And I try to do it every time I can is I tell people, do not accept the trade-offs. Whatever you want to do in your life, you can do. You can live where you want. You can travel like you want. You can build the business you want. You can be the kind of husband or father you want. And anything short of that is a limiting belief. It's not reality.
Man, the first question is, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could?
I would probably take more risk.
More risk. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just realized risk, even when things don't work out, you learn so much. It's so valuable that even risks that fail in the eyes of most people is a good outcome.
Mm-hmm. In the eyes of other people, again, goop. Yeah. Right. That's the only reason why you wouldn't risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Mindset. So what is one mindset shift, Mac, that you've had that you can share that you think is contributing to your success right now?
I think two of them I would talk about that we talked about today. One is reverse engineering almost any problem, starting with the end in mind and coming backwards. And the other is just not accepting the trade-offs that people around you, even well-intentioned people that care about you, are going to tell you can't do certain things, and you just can't accept those trade-offs.
Mm-hmm. And the understanding that, whatever they're saying is just like the opinion based on a projection that is based on where they are, right? Like currently,
that's their own situation. That's not your constraint. Exactly.
Mindset, map, clarity. So, do you have any advice for people who may lack or need clarity in their life?
I think the best thing you can do is go out into the future, and the time frame that always seems to work for me is, and I've heard a lot of people use the same, is 3 years. It's far enough out that it's a lot of stuff can happen between now and then, but you have to really look at your life out at least 3 years and say, what do I want my life to look like? And then start imagining yourself there. And then you can start backing up and saying, what type of person do I have to be to achieve that? What type of skills do I need to acquire? What type of people do I surround myself with? What type of body do I need to have? What type of mental strength? And so all of those things, if you're looking at today, are incredibly challenging. But if you look out 3 years, then you can start chipping away at things and it gives you a path. So to me, clarity always comes when I look forward and I imagine where I want to be. And then I just start saying, okay, well, I can start today. I know what I need to do to start that journey. And then you just keep doing that. And you know, you're making steps every day.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Yeah. Mindset map motion. So what is one habit that you have, Mac, that you think is contributing to your success?
I would say one big habit I have is every day staring at and thinking about what matters to me. You know, both the combination of what's important in life, you know, family and friends and things like that, but also what are my goals? And by forcing myself or having the benefit of looking at that every day, I never have questions. I know exactly what I care about, what I'm working on, what matters. So when big decisions or big problems show up, my mind is super clear how to make those decisions because I know what matters. I can easily walk away from a deal if it would mean I have to like spend less time with my kids or whatever, right? So that clarity that I get from staring at that stuff every day has made a huge difference in my life.
What do you mean staring at, you know, that stuff every single day? Like, what do you mean by that?
So if I look at my goals, I write what there's a book called Vivid Vision. Cameron Harold, Cameron and I've known him for a while, wrote a great book about vivid vision. He uses a similar framework of kind of 3 years. It's basically you kind of write a statement of what your life looks like in 3 years as if you've already achieved it. You're living where you want to live. You're in Bali or wherever, and you have 2 kids and you're working 4 days a week. And here's what your business looks like. And I read that every single day and imagine myself there because that's what I want. And so when something else comes up, then I can look at it and say, does it help me get there? If not, why would I do it?
Me too, man. Look, I have this thing called mental pathway programming.
Yeah.
Like these little boxes represent the story of my life, right? I have the story of my life, you know, till this point. Yep. And then I've consciously chosen what are the next boxes that I'm going to be building, right? And then I have yearly bullseyes and darts that I throw, right? And which are 90-day darts. And then I have a letter that I read to myself. So it works, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it, man. Mindset map motion measure. The last question is, what do you think about measuring and tracking?
I think it's super important. I use it again almost every day. I mean, I look at my investment strategy. I look at our dashboards for business. I look at, you know, how things are going, what I could do better, what I need to, you know, improve on, and what's working. And so, you know, what gets measured gets managed. And so if I'm not looking at it and measuring it, then I know it's not going to change. And so I have a number of, and I use just simple spreadsheets for myself, but I have a number of spreadsheets that I look at every single day. That's basically my investments, you know, my company's performance, you know, my goals, all those things I look at every day. So I can measure my progress against them.
Awesome. Well, Mac, I've really enjoyed this. Oh, actually, what do most people think they want? Money, right? So if they want that, they got to get 4 things right: mindset, map, motion, measure, money. And that's why I ask these questions at the end of every single interview. Like someone can literally go to the end of every single interview and get a crash course of how to be successful. Yeah. So I've really enjoyed this, Mac. Thank you very much for your time, man. And if people want to know more about you, you know, and Exit DNA and everything that you got going on, where would be the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, I have a website. It's Mac, Mac, Lackey, Lackey.com. So maclackey.com. My programs, stuff I write about, think about, care about is usually up there. And of course, at Mac Lackey on most of the social media platforms as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mac. I've really enjoyed this, man.
Thank you.
I'll
Best
see
of
you
luck
later.
to you. All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms